See, a day like today requires the second cup of afternoon coffee after a late night double OT Spurs game. One game down, 1-0 Spurs. Let's talk about it. Raining threes with two of my best friends here at Ken's Five. We're talking about Vinnie Vinzetta, Casey Viera. Let's rain some threes, gentlemen. Come on in. Let's go. Let's go, Spurs, go. How you guys doing?
Better now.
Right?
Better now, sir.
Are we a little more gray hair today? The silver of the silver and black.
You know, the silver, yeah. Listen,
I
man.
slept on it. I'm still trying to process what happened last night.
Yes.
Did it shock you, honestly, to have that kind of game one?
Yes and no. I feel like I'm anticipating just them beating the heck out of each other for 7 games. But Victor pulling up from 30 feet to tie the game, I didn't particularly have that one.
Can we start there? Can we start there? What
Yeah.
if he misses that shot? Honestly,
We're
if
having
he misses
some-
that shot, is he reprimanded? I mean, he pulled up from the logo, man.
Man, you live with it. I don't think he's reprimanded. I mean, it's Victor Wembanyama. I mean, I think Mitch goes into postgame, in my opinion, and says, you live with that shot. He's our guy. But, yeah, we're having a different conversation because I don't think they win if he misses that shot.
They're down by 3. That shot's missed. Game over. man.
Incredible. Incredible.
The discourse is definitely different this morning. We're not celebrating. We're not having a conversation in this context. Instead, we're talking about Victor in the moment or lack thereof, them blowing a 10-point lead to these guys. Do they have the mentals to do it? All those type of things. But thankfully, that's not the conversation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was listening to his post-game press conference, and he said, I wasn't thinking. I was just going. You know, and that's an interesting thought from him. Like, he's like, I may need to think some more. And I'm like, no, Vic, don't think, just
worked
do.
well.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking and scoring 41, don't think.
Incredible.
No, it really was. What did it tell you about this team? You know, you know this team. You both know this team really well. What did last night tell you?
Probably not much more, honestly, that we didn't already know.
Yeah.
That they're a tough bunch, that they're a resilient bunch, and the idea of the experience or lack thereof, that narrative, I think that's becoming something that's more and more of the past, or something that you just kind of throw away. Because every time you think that it's applicable to a situation, they find a way to get around it and get the best of it, right? So just look at last night. They're OKC's clicking by the time we get to like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. The Spurs are showing moments of youth. They can't get the offense going. Castle's kicking the ball around. Harper's kicking the ball around. That was very easily the chance that this would have slipped away. And again, the discourse today is different. Yes, it helps when number one is on your team and he can bail you out in these spots. You know, maybe with the conversation, maybe the conversation should focus more on that collectively. But once they got to overtime, in my opinion, it was one of those things where it was just like, okay, we got the counterpunch. The entire time. Devin Vassell, just his big-time buckets, one after another, and then in double overtime, the big-time block that iced the game. Collectively as a whole, they're just showing that the idea of them being too young is just something that is irrelevant.
And look at how young. You've got, with Fox on the bench, you've got a rookie guard. You've got a 2-year Steph Castle. And then Wemby, right? I mean, he's still learning and not thinking.
Well, as much as I'd like to talk completely about Vic, I want to talk about Dylan Harper. I mean, are you serious? A kid to go in there in that environment, game one of a conference finals, and he runs the offense, he finds shooters, he does all this magic he can do around the rim. I was mesmerized just with the scale of what that game was, the way he arrived and played in game one. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it really was. And when we started out and you see, the MVP of the NBA scoring 4 points, were you like, they're going to show up? I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I mean, were you expecting him to light up in the second half?
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, he didn't even really light up until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he only had 10 points after 3.
Wow.
3 of 10 from the field, I think that's what it was. And it wasn't up until we got inside those last 5 minutes, which, that's money time for him to go out there and do those things. I think we'd all be kind of blind to say that was going to be a thing that they were going to do to shut him down for, I guess at the time, 40 minutes of game time before we got into overtime and all that. But I just thought their effort collectively on the defensive end to get in the way with that was fantastic, because with someone like him, it's 5 guys on a string and that's what it is. And you have to give him different looks. You have to make him uncomfortable in whatever which ways you can. I think we're going to get to a spot where, heck, it might even be game 2, where he's going to start to look very comfortable again.
Yeah.
Just because of how fantastic that SGA is. But you take it one game at a time, and the one game that we did see so far, they got the better of them.
There are no more adjustments in a series as much as there are between games 1 and 2.
Is that right?
So will Caruso score 31 again? He won't. Will Steph Castle turn it over 11 times again? He won't. Will it be double overtime again? I doubt it. So it's going to be fascinating to watch the chess match unfold between the first game and this game 2. But yeah, it's going to be incredible to watch.
I want to lean into that. You're saying that the adjustments between these first 2 games will be more than, say, between 3 and 4, and is it because they're getting to know each other? You know, I mean, they played a few times during the season, but you know, this 1 and 2 is the most crucial adjustment right now?
I think that's what we heard from the T-Wolves and Spurs in the previous series, that by the time you get to games 3 and 4, you know what everybody's tendencies are. You know what everybody's going to do. So in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, I think that's where you see the most adjustments is between the first 2 games.
Yeah, and I think that's why traditionally you see in these spots after the visiting team comes in and takes the game 1, the home team responds, and usually it's loud. Usually they win. It's not all the time, but it's not foreign to see that home team come back and pick up a double-digit victory. That said, though, I think that often goes hand in hand with the visiting team feeling like, okay, we got our split.
Yeah.
We got our
Yeah,
split.
right.
It's a win. We flipped home court advantage. We leave here, we feel pretty happy and healthy. You saw it with Minnesota when it was game 2 in San Antonio after they stole game 1 and they got their doors blown off in game 2. You saw Ant-Man, you saw Julius Randle, despite being down 30 points, just kind of sitting there be like, hey, whatever. You know, they're screwing around with the jackals up there in the stands. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't.
Right. Hot dog and,
yeah, exactly.
But there's no way we get blown out there tomorrow.
I don't
see that.
No, I don't think so. I could see a world where they do lose by double digits just because of what it is, but I'm talking more like 10 to 15, not 30 of what it is and what that was. Just because Oklahoma City is Oklahoma City. And this
they're the defending champs.
They're the defending champs. And then you look kind of in the spot that they were in similarly last year when they had a big notable loss at home was game 1 of the NBA Finals. And Halliburton went in there with the Pacers and they stole game 1. Fantastic game, but they stole it in a very similar fashion to the Spurs did last night. What did OKC do? They came out and they won that game by double digits.
So what do they do? I mean, you know, there's no answer for Victor. What would you do in the position as Oklahoma City going into game 2? What's the big adjustment?
Well, you got to find more offensive activity, I think, for SGA. And I want to circle back to what Casey said. They did a great job moving different Spurs on him defensively. And it's like, to me, it's like what Pop used to say when Kawhi would guard KD. You're not going to completely, sorry to bring up that name, by the way.
I know, it's a trigger, bro. Careful.
Number 2.
Too soon.
You're not going to completely shut him out, but you just work to make it as hard on him as possible. And so I think that's what the Spurs defense did in game 1. SGA is going to have to, from what I saw in the first game, work overtime to get his shots. Now, are the Thunder going to shoot as bad from 3 as they did in game 1? Highly unlikely.
No,
they're going to hit some more. So every one of these things is a brand new chapter.
You know, one of the things that I love you brought up, we talked about yesterday, just what Oklahoma City did and how they did it, because there's a little bit of a Pop influence in this Thunder team and what they constructed to win titles and what the Spurs are facing. They know pretty well.
Well, you know, their GM is Sam Presti.
Of course.
He was raised in this organization.
Of course.
So there's no way to overblow that. They are built the Spurs way. Now, that's just a fact. I mean, Sam Presti was brought up here. He knows the way the silver and black do things, and that's the way, I think you agree, that they are constructed.
It's a carbon copy. It's a carbon copy because it's a very effective business model, like we know. It is.
Highly effective. It works.
I would say 5 rings tells you, that the data suggests that it works, right? Just going out on a limb. And I think that's what kind of makes OKC so special on that front is that they're set up for now, like the Spurs, they're set up for the present, they're set up for the future. They're in this situation where you see these teams over, and this is in part just to the NBA as a whole, over an 8 to 10 year span. You don't have the money to keep everybody, right? And some of these role guys, they're never going to have as much value as they will after a championship. So how do you compensate for that? You draft well. You put yourself in a position to get draft capital, and that's what they did. The OKC is going to go through a cycle where, and much like the Spurs will at some point, as much as it stinks to see some of the homegrown guys potentially go, was that when they do, they've accumulated enough draft capital to have these guys, i.e. in the Spurs case, you think about it like the likes of a Carter Bryant, so they can ultimately make the move like we saw where they move off Jeremy Sohan earlier in the year. That's just kind of the cycle of life. But with their ability, the two teams to accumulate the assets that they have and continuously go, and the circle of life, maybe not circle of life, it's the best terminology, but the business model to keep it running, it's a testament to them, and that's why they're two 60-win teams playing in the conference finals right now.
I get nervous only because, you brought up Kawhi, and when you're talking about this right now, it gets me nervous that somebody's going to, really make Victor a huge offer, make Steph a huge offer, and we're going to lose some of these guys because of just how good they are. I'm hoping the opposite is true, that they're like, you know what, we want to stay together, and maybe some big stars around the league want to come play with Victor and win a few titles here in San Antonio.
Well, he watches the money much closer than I do, but the bottom line is you can't keep everybody every single year.
Right.
You're going to lose some folks to free agency, but obviously, number one is here to stay for the rest of his life.
Think so?
He's not going anywhere.
I know he'll lock down an extension this summer. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's 10, he'll be here a decade. And you can't forecast those things that far down the road. With the Spurs, I mean, well, you never know with them. You just can't forecast it. And that's not as much a Spurs thing, a Victor thing, as just, again, kind of an NBA thing. My thing, I think when you have these kind of prevalent conversations about that is the aspect of Dylan Harper. The way he's played, he's not going to be able to sit on the bench forever.
Right, no
he's
way.
Not.
Look what his first start was last night, right?
Right.
That was his first start.
Playoff start, yeah, first playoff start. And you can make the case, I probably wouldn't make it though, that he is the best of their guards of Castle, Harper, Fox.
Really?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just to see the way he impacts the game, controls the flow, the way he's been defensively, the way he rebounds the basketball, crashing that glass, the offensive glass. I'm not going to fight you if you think Dylan Harper is the best of those guards.
I'm not going there just yet, but I respect the point.
But you know what I'm getting at, though.
Who's better? Fox is better?
I'm going to edge Fox a little bit, but he just said something. The way Harper was rebounding among the trees last night, I was like, what?
Yeah. So that's exactly it. Listen, Manu Ginobili said that, or Pop, I should say, said that if Manu Ginobili can come off the bench, anybody can. That I don't think that everyone's Manu Ginobili.
No,
if we're being if we're being honest, in 2026, not everybody is Manu Ginobili, and that's fine. Right, that's fine. There's only so many times a player in the league gets an opportunity to secure something for himself. That's an impasse that the Spurs are going to come across, but that's 2 years down the road. You think about it, but. You focus on the present, what you do, you do now, the fact they're very realistic title contenders, we know that, that's old news. And then when you have the conversation of what to do with Dylan Harper and that dynamic with Fox and Castle, you worry about it next year.
Exactly. It's like Ali and Frazier inside the ring last night, trading blow for blow. We're up late. You should have seen us here in the studios. I mean, Henry had the game on his phone, and then Easties and I are watching on Gamecast because that was a few seconds ahead of what Henry's watching. Oh, and by the way, we're trying to do a newscast. It's like all this is happening. We couldn't show highlights. We're going to Kristen live at the Frost Bank Center. And now social media blows up today with Victor because before the game, of course, SGA gets the MVP.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people feel, especially in this city, that maybe Wemby got snubbed. Well, this was my favorite shot. There's the trophy. And there's Wemby's right foot. Like, here's the trophy, and I'm on top of it.
Look, I'm going to say objectively that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserved to win the MVP back-to-back. He broke Wilt's record.
Yeah.
And that's hard to overlook. I was shocked that Victor only received, five first-place votes, and that he finished third in the voting behind.
Who's voting? Let me start there.
Well, it's writers, press.
Writers, guys like yourself.
Yeah, I was just shocked that Jokic finished second. He's a three-time league MVP.
Right?
I was just surprised. Wow. I don't know if the national press is like, Victor's going to eventually get his flowers.
I'm sure there's an element
put on the
to that.
brakes, young man.
Yeah.
But he should have finished second. I'm sorry.
I loved how he handled the post game because, and I was watching it with my wife late last night, and she was kind of getting mad that the reporters were asking him that question. She's like, "Ask him about the game. Talk about the game. Why? They just want a good answer from him."
Nobody wants to hear about that.
Yeah. And he was so gracious and he was so respectful. And they said, "Do you think you're the best player in the world?" And he goes, There's 8 billion people on this planet. He goes, "I don't know if I can say something
I was
like
just
that."
watching that.
I love that answer.
And there was another reporter that
He's
asked
humble.
him all these things about what it was like to watch SGA get the trophy, and then were you angry to play the game, blah, blah, blah. And his answer was, all that, yes.
Yeah, he did
And he just
all
moved
that.
on. Just
I
moved
like
on.
it.
Yeah.
Let's move on, you know?
Yeah. No. I actually have a question for you. and you to a lesser extent.
Okay, that's fair.
You have seen the pinnacle of this city when the winning has happened.
When it was expected every year.
Every year. You to a lesser extent, because I think when you got here, all you saw was
Last
14.
third of the Duncan era.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say, comparatively speaking, you've seen now and how it looks back to 99, those days?
It's not even close.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. When I see what I saw at the Rock and at the Frost last night, it's bigger than what I saw in 99.
Yeah.
And that was the first one. And when I say that bigger, I mean, I'm looking back and remembering the night we won it against the Knicks in the Garden. Avery hits that baseline jumper and the city goes bananas. And we were live till 2:33 a.m.
Right.
I remember I was at Foley's. Remember Foley's at North Star Mall, where that line was wrapped around the building to get championship shirts. And we were there late enough that the San Antonio Express News came in with Spurs win across the front top fold. It was quite a night. But what I'm seeing with the honking and everything that's happened, we're just in the Western Conference Finals, game one. You know, I mean, I can't imagine this city's going to burst at the seams when we win the finals. When we win the finals.
When this is a new generation of fans that were babies during the last championship run, and now they're young adults. But to his point, when they're honking and doing burnouts on Southwest Military in the Portland series in round one,
I know.
In round one,
it's a different feel.
Well, and I look at it, you know, we both grew up in the Northeast. There's 2 to 3 teams in every pro sport.
Right.
Almost to the point where you don't even, like, I never even paid attention. People, so are you a Knicks fan or a Nets fan? Because I grew up in New Jersey. I'm like, we didn't pay attention to NBA. We were a big football family, and then baseball was a close second.
Right.
And, you know, my favorite basketball team growing up was the Butler Bulldogs, because that's who I played for. And then my family's favorite team, because that's who I played for, right? But that in high school, and I never went to an NBA game. Not once.
Well, to be fair, that's the difference of you know, in North Jersey, living with the Nets over there, and then on the other side of the bridge, when you got the Garden and the Knicks over there. You know, I think in fairness that speaks a little bit to that. But I think what's been special and why we've seen such a rejuvenated energy is because they've been bad for a long.
It's been a long way.
And so when that feeling is back for the OGs in this town, for the people, you know, whose abuelos and abuelas have all these stories of the past, things like that.
They've been hearing it.
Years. This is all stuff that's just foreign to these people, and now they're experiencing, because what have they seen before that? Mediocre basketball for over half a decade.
And this is a great point, because Carissa's my oldest at 28. So she grew up in that era of never knowing a bad Spurs team, always expecting them in the post and running for the title. And so think about that generation that sat in wait for nearly 10 years, and now they're back.
But I was going to say, it's been a decade. How spoiled are we? There are franchises that have been waiting 30, 40, 50 years. And here we are, we're like, the wait's finally over.
Right. That is spoiled. You're so right. There's a shot. I want to show this too, guys. This is such a poignant picture of Victor and the team. You know the one I'm talking about, right? I mean, this one will live in infamy. I mean, I love how he's looking up, and he might be looking at their championship banner. I don't know what he's looking at, maybe the scoreboard. Do you know when this shot was taken?
Right after the block shot?
Right after.
This was right after.
Right after the block J-Dub, right?
Yeah, they were up by 6, kind of just window dressing at that point. But it was another block shot, and
that is just such a great picture.
Iconic,
And I don't know that we'll get a better one, you know, even if we go on to the finals, which, okay, let's go there. If we win the West, who do we face, and what kind of matchup are we looking at for either, you know, Spurs or Thunder? I really feel confident, especially after winning Game 1, that we're going to win this series. But between the Cavs and the Knicks, who do you think comes out of the East, and what's a better matchup?
Well, loaded question there.
I know.
I was just going to say, I mean, I was over here singing the Knicks praises.
All yours.
Yeah. I was just here singing the Knicks praises on the other side. I think New York is going to pack up Cleveland in probably 6 games. The way that they're playing right now, the way that they're clicking, the way that they've found something. See, the thing with the Knicks right now, I've discovered, is that yes, they have all the things of the past, of knocking on the door, being close, conference finals last year. And now the expectation, this is the expectation that they were facing, New York was at the start of the year, not only from the fans, from inside the organization, more importantly. James Dolan essentially said that it's, for Mike Brown, head coach's job, former Spurs assistant, it's finals or bust. Get to the finals or bust. So you're looking at a group of guys who know jobs might be on the line here.
Right.
And it got to a spot early in the postseason where it felt like this wasn't working out when they went down 2-1 to the Atlanta Hawks. They've turned it on since then. They've been at a record-breaking pace offensively. Karl Anthony Towns has been fantastic. Brunson has been Brunson. I think he's kind of established that now. They're, in my opinion, they're going to make short work of Cleveland. And then it looks like it's just going to, at that point, you're looking at 99. But it'll be tough because I think the Spurs are dramatically improved since they played in the Cup. The Knicks are improved since they played in the Cup. And they've kind of found like their own separate identities that while the Knicks did take 2 out of 3 from them this season, you can't really, I don't want to say put too much stock. You put stock into it.
But not, I mean,
but not a ton.
Yeah.
Because I think both of them are playing their best basketball. I don't think the Spurs were playing their best basketball in the winter, but I also don't think the Knicks were either.
Okay.
So you ask me that right now, I'm thinking we're looking at a rematch of 99 Knicks Spurs.
I'm hot and cold on the Cavs. Depends on the night. The Knicks are on a heater, so I would lean New York.
New York Spurs in the finals. And one last question, and we got a soundbite from Mitch Johnson I want to get to. What do you think about this series after the Spurs go up 1-0? I predicted 6 yesterday. I'm going to stick with it. What do you think?
So the crazy part of me, and he knows this about me, the crazy part of me says the gentleman's sweep, 4-1 Spurs. But
4-1?
That's the crazy part of me. So I'll go 6, and I'm not prepared to say just yet who I think is going to win the series.
See,
really? Really? You think Thunder could?
These again, every game's a new chapter, and these are the 2 best teams in the West. I will make a bold prediction. Okay, I'll do that. If the Spurs steal Game 2 and go up 2-0, this thing's over. San Antonio wins the series, I think, if they take Game 2.
Maybe the sense of equilibrium was off for me. But a couple nights ago on our Spurs Squad show, which you can, by the way, check out twice a week on YouTube and your podcast.
Good show.
Myself,
Nice. Very nice.
former San Antonio Spurs, Devin Brown, host of Locked On Spurs. Yes, Matthew Tynan. We get together,
I've got a Devin Brown question after this point.
Oh,
real quick.
I probably have a lot of Devin Brown answers.
There was a weekend back in 04.
I know.
I'm playing.
No, I said Spurs in 5.
Okay.
Under the context that I just feel like they match up very well with them. And I feel like this is a postseason where matchups matter more than records, things like that.
They do.
Context here, if the Spurs had played the Denver Nuggets in the second round, I don't know if I would have taken the Spurs because I think they don't match up well. They match up well with the Thunder.
Yeah.
5 might have been a little ambitious on my end, but it's already on the internet. It's already on your local podcast platforms.
Can't turn back.
I can't turn back now, Bill. I can't turn back. We're
All
here.
right. What year did Devin Brown, this is not the question, but just so I have context, win with the Spurs?
05.
05. So
Pistons year.
I think, is Devin Brown the only possibly pro athlete, but NBA player to have done high school, college, pro championship in the same city?
You've asked me that before, yeah.
Do you know that answer?
I'm going to have to
I'd
ask
like to
him.
really know, right? And maybe in all of sports, no one's ever done something like that.
You know
That's
what?
Really
On the
cool.
next
That's
episode
really cool.
of Locked On Spurs, we'll have that answer for you.
Because
Yeah.
he was at Fox Tech.
the squad show.
And of course, he was a road runner, UTSA, college.
So
And
you're
then-
saying like conference championship?
No, he won the title. He was with the Spurs championship.
No. I'm saying for like UTSA. Yeah.
I don't think he won. No.
No, he didn't.
I'm just
No, he
saying
didn't.
all of that happening in one city. The championship just being the Spurs.
Right.
But from high school to college to pro. all in the same city, and then he wins the championship with the pro team.
That is a final Jeopardy
That's
question.
a final Jeopardy.
I know.
All right, speaking of final, I want to make time. Let's go to Mitch Johnson, head coach of the San Antonio Spurs.
You could just speak to the competitiveness and the way you guys kept answering the bell down the stretch against the defending champs.
It was a competitive game. Felt like both teams just kept doing enough to not be put away and kept doing enough to let the other team know they were trying to pull away. It got to the point probably sometime at the end of that fourth quarter, it just felt like it was a war of wills. And there was a level of mental toughness that was exuded by both teams. And almost sometimes, like in football, they say it's just at some point the time runs out. It felt like everybody kept scoring. But the bench was great for us. We needed every second from everybody that played. And then those 5 guys, I don't know what it is, one of you probably do, but they played maybe the last 15 or so odd game time minutes. And their legs got wobbly, but they composed themselves and finished strong. And that was a heck of a game to be a part of.
And then by this
really
point,
were.
are you at all?
We talk about the
I
youth
suppose
of
you're
this
not
team. You
surprised
guys
anymore
are
about
both,
the way Victor is able
you know
to rise.
Popovich well. Tell me about Mitch Johnson, the difference you're seeing with this head coach.
Go ahead, Casey.
I think Mitch Johnson, to me, what's special about him is that it is very easy when you see him coming after Pop to fall under the narrative that he's, to put it bluntly, and maybe for lack of a better term, because I'm not bright enough to think of another one right now, but essentially a puppet of the front office, because they tell him the Spurs way, this is the way it is. You're just a mouthpiece from up top. Maybe a small element of that is there because that's Spurs culture, but Mitch Johnson is not Greg Popovich.
Right.
He is not. He is a completely different man. And we recognize that and we realize that right in the middle of that interim season when Pop went down, however many was, 5-6 games into the year. And you saw what makes Mitch Johnson special. Initially, I compared it when he first got the job in the interim status, I should say. They had a stretch where they won 3 games in a row in the middle of the year. It wasn't against great opponents. But the energy was different. And I think it's because it was a young guy who can resonate with younger players.
Yeah,
you love Pop, but sometimes that's just, again, kind of life, where coaches just don't have the same impact. But Mitch got in there, and the only analogy I can compare it to was that he was the substitute teacher that everybody loved, but they respected. So he's the sub that's there, and not the one the kids are going to walk all over.
That's good.
He's the sub. He's the sub that's there,
Yeah.
and they say, "Okay, we got to get our work done, but we love this dude." And that was why, the way I saw it, why he got that job in the first place, because he won the locker room,
Yeah.
and that almost is a prerequisite for these guys. Win the locker room and let everything else fall into place after that, which it did. And as a result, in time, we've seen him establish himself. There's little tendencies that are different from Pop. There are times, maybe to his own detriment, that it's he's kind of hurt himself that he's not Pop, and he needs more of the Pop way. But I think what we've learned in time, especially with this season, completely different man for Pop than Pop, and it's really shown the way the year is gone on.
Wemby has talked about it lots in post-game press conferences. They trust Mitch. There is a level of trust there that is crazy. And don't forget, Coach Johnson was a point guard at Stanford. So he gives them a perspective of what it's like to work out there as a cohesive unit. And everybody is fully, I believe, bought into his style.
I like that because I was going to ask if he played, so I'm glad you brought that up. Vinnie, Vinzetta, Casey, Viera. Let's do this again. We've
not?
got 4 more games in the Western Conference Finals.
At minimum.
Minimum, right?
Yeah.
And then we got some finals to talk too. So.
I like the way you think.
Raining threes, baby, raining threes. Go Spurs, go.